Okay, let's dive right in. We've got quite a bit of material here looking at a massive change in India's policy towards Pakistan.
That's right. It seems we're moving completely beyond that post-Kargil status quo.
Yeah, the sources really suggest New Delhi has, fundamentally rewritten the playbook.
And it's interesting to map that out. We're definitely seeing a sharp break from what analysts called strategic restraint.
That period from about 99 to 2014, full of diplomatic efforts, the composite dialogue.
Right, which ultimately didn't work out. Now, the sources point to this more proactive stance. Some call it the Modi Doctrine, others the home turf strategy.
Home turf. What does that actually signal, practically speaking, for you listening?
Well, it's about shifting the burden. It means ensuring any aggression doesn't just happen on Indian soil without consequence. It guarantees a painful, proportionate response on their turf.
Oh, so it's not just a minor policy tweak.
Oh, no, not at all. It fundamentally resets the rules of engagement for the whole region, really.
Okay, so pillar number one seems to be this non-negotiable red line. The phrase that keeps coming up is terror and talks. Terror and trade cannot go together. Simple, almost brutal.
And that's what killed the composite dialogue. Remember, that dialogue was supposed to cover 8 big issues: trade, water, Siachen.
But it kept getting stuck.
Exactly. The sources argue Pakistan often used it to, sort of, maintain a strategic veto, prioritizing Kashmir over real action on terrorism. This red line just cut through all that. No more talks without action on terror, period.
And it wasn't just diplomatic lines in the sand. India also moved to create political closure. Article 370 in August 2019 seems key here.
Absolutely key. Politically huge internally, of course, but strategically. It was about removing leverage.
How so?
By defining Kashmir purely as an internal affair, India basically took the core dispute off the international negotiating table. Just like that.
And slammed the door on third-party mediation at the same time.
Pretty much, yes. Yeah. Unilaterally changing the facts on the ground, diplomatically speaking.
Okay, so that sets up the other side of the coin. Punitive deterrence. The kinetic part.
Yes. The promise of assured, direct, kinetic retaliation for terrorist attacks.
And this explicitly pushes back against what some call Pakistan's nuclear blackmail.
That's the term used, yes.
Yeah.
The idea that the nuclear deterrent could shield subconventional or proxy warfare, India is basically saying that shield doesn't count for conventional counter-terror responses.
And we've seen this play out, right? A clear pattern.
The 2016 surgical strikes were the first big signal. Then the 2019 Balakot airstrikes went further, deeper.
And these sources project this forward, modeling a potential future escalation like Operation Sindoor in 2025.
Right. That's an analytical projection in the material we reviewed. It suggests the doctrine could mature to the point of hitting actual military infrastructure deep inside Pakistan.
Establishing a conventional military asymmetry.
That hasn't really been seen since the 1971 war. It's a significant claim.
Alongside the military pressure, there's the economic angle. Coercive tools.
Definitely. After the Pulwama attack in 2019, India withdrew the Most Favored Nation, or MFN, status.
And then slapped on that huge 200% tariff on imports from Pakistan.
Which effectively killed almost all direct trade. A near-complete ban.
But here's where you pointed out something. Well, inconsistent in the sources.
Yeah, it's this odd contrast. You have this deep freeze diplomatically, economically.
Total isolation strategy.
Yet India readily placed Pakistan in massive high-profile cricket matches. ICC tournaments.
Which the sources call what? Cynical theater.
Pretty much. Because the commercial side is huge. Massive profits, mostly flowing to India, actually.
So the suggestion is that when there's enough money on the table, the zero-tolerance message gets flexible.
It certainly looks that way, according to the analysis. Monetization seems to trump the strategic messaging sometimes.
Okay, stepping back from the strategy itself and its contradictions, what's the biggest underlying risk flagged in these materials?
It seems to be this alarming normalization of limited military action. Each crisis pushes the envelope a bit further.
Which means decision times get shorter and shorter in a real crisis.
Exactly. And the proof point they offer is quite stark. Almost every major crisis, including the projected 2025 scenario, ends up needing outside help to de-escalate. Usually the U.S.
That tells you the bilateral mechanisms for controlling escalation just aren't working or aren't there.
They seem inadequate at best, which leads to this paradox.
Right. India gets this strategic clarity, this high ground, through a really rigid stance of deep freeze-on dialogue.
But that very rigidity, that lack of communication channels, makes it harder, maybe impossible, to build joint frameworks for shared threats, like counterterrorism cooperation.
So political certainty now versus what? Shared security later.
That seems to be the trade-off. You gain control and certainty in the short term, but perhaps at the cost of tools needed for long-term stability.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. If global terrorism keeps evolving, incorporating new tech like AI, maybe even biotech,
how much bigger does the risk become when two nuclear-armed neighbors can't even manage a basic technical conversation about joint security challenges?
something to consider.
Yeah.
That tension between today's political clarity and tomorrow's potential shared dangers.